Hello, everyone. Welcome to the third session of the Global Action Partnership for EPR Brazil Support webinar series. My name is Ran Xie from UNAP Paris office, and the organization of this webinar series has been supported by the Global Action Partnership for EPR, GAP for EPR, and also UNAP Brazil office. Again, you might already been very familiar with the rules now showing on the screen, but let me just quickly repeat. Please mute yourself while we're doing the technical presentation, but you can feel free to use the chat to introduce yourself and pose any questions you have. There will be a Q&A session after the presentation, and the expert will take your questions. And also be aware that the session is being recorded, and the recording and the presentation will be shared on GAP4EPR website later. Very quickly, for those who have not yet have an idea what GAP4EPR is, this initiative was launched in October 2023 by GIZ, WWF, OECD, UNEP, and Prevent Waste Alliance jointly. And it aims to connect EPR practitioners and experts worldwide, foster collaboration, and innovate the global conversation on EPR. Today is our third and the last session for this webinar series for Brazil. The topic for today will be about the use of marketable certificates for packaging targets. We've already organized 2 sessions earlier, and later I'm going to share in the chat the link where you can find the recording if you missed them. Now, with this, let me give the floor to our expert from Cyclos for the presentation.
Yes, thank you, Ran, and good morning. My name is Agnes Bühnemann. I'm Managing Director of Cyclos. Most of you have been joining the last sessions, I think. I know already, but new is today Katalin. Katalin is also employee here at Cyclos. Stefan today will come later, and Katalin will support here. And she's also expert and made her master studies about the EPR system in Chile. And maybe if there are special questions, she can answer it if there is any interest in these special questions. Now let me start immediately because 1 hour is not so long. And I hope you can see now, and I will start with the presentation mode, right, from the beginning. And please give an answer. And is it fine? Flavia?
Yes.
And Ran? It's
Yes.
fine?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry, because I don't know exactly what you can see, but now it's fine and we can start. Yes, today, critical analysis of used or marketable certificates to meet packaging targets. Yes, in the first session, we spoke about the registration and monitoring system, and then about different models of PRO, and now we will see, okay, can it work? Can it work like it is with certificates, or is this not the very best way? First, I want to give a small some insights about reporting and transparency of the system, then about mass flow verification, then certificate trading, discussion and recommendation. And we will also, if there is still more time, speak about collection infrastructure step by step and informal sector integration. We will see whether it is still time enough to speak about these topics too. As you can see here, the running an EPR system is complex, and to prove that every stakeholder complies to it and takes it responsibility, you have to control it. And here you can see first the controlling and monitoring of the obliged companies. Register, we have spoken already, self-declaration, and third-party auditing and reporting. These are the pillars of controlling and of monitoring. And here, these are the three areas of the controlling. The first area is what the producers are doing. Are they all registered? Are they reporting the material fractions and the quantities correct? And are all these informations complete? Because this is needed for the waste management operators and to ask and control, is a license to operate obtained? Is the disposal company suitable? Does the waste management fulfill all the obligation and have all plants audit carried out and have the disposal company complied with their contracts? And between these, the producers and the waste management, there is a system operator, the PRO, and he has to control, to organize all these structures between the producers and the waste management operators. And therefore, you have to control, you can control, is there a good structure in place? We discussed yesterday. Is it organized that he can do his work as a system operator? Has a register been set up? His duty is it to do this? Is there a proper documentation in place? Is all information obtained and passed on? And have public tenders been organized? It is important because when money is coming in, they have to spend this directly and have the municipalities informed and involved in the system. But this must be also a rule in your law, in the packaging law, or also in electronic equipment law or batteries, or this is a rule. And these three pillars are important in all EPR systems, and is evidence provided for government inspections, and are these available? These are the three pillars. And here you can see again the picture of the total organization of the system. And it is very important to control this whole system because the producers tend to underreport because they have to pay what they bring on the market. If there's a lot of amount and materials, they have to pay more, and therefore they tend to underreport. And the waste management operators, they tend to overreport. These are our experience because they are paid by the services, by tons, what they recycle, and so on. And therefore, it is very important to monitor and have a register for the producers and for the waste management operators too. And here you can see the PRO is bringing both stakeholders together, the producers and reporters, and they need a verification by registration and reporting, and these must also be audited and controlled. And on the same, not on the same level, but it is also in the responsibility of the PRO, because the cash flow is going to the waste management operators and they have to send the data reporting. Here, the verification is based on the mass flow records on waste management operators. And these pictures is a central picture of controlling, of mass flow analysis of the organization, and to see, okay, this is the bridge between producer, importers, between the obliged companies who bring it on the market, waste packaging, electro equipment, batteries, or something like this, and between the waste management operators. Yes, and this is the bridge, is the PRO. And all figures are coming together in the PRO. Let me say some words about mass flow verification. Mass flow verification here means the verification of the mass flow from the waste management operators to the PRO. If they have tenders and they have gives the invoice to the PRO, they have to show what they have done and what the services they did, and therefore there is also a need of another registration. It is not the same registration what I've shown between the obliged companies and the PRO. It is another mass flow register or IT data reporting system and something like this. And the register is, okay, who I am. The number, the name, am I a collector, a sorter, a recycler, or a store? And do I have need certificates and what type of recycling? Is it packaging, recycling, or batteries, or plastic, or something like this? And then the data reporting about the collected collection points, where did I collect it, what did I collect, and information about the sorted packaging, materials, volume, the incoming quantities, the output quantities, and whereabouts the output quantities are. And then information about the packaging recycled, about volume and the materials and the outcoming and the type of recycling. Is it material recycling? Is it energetic recycling and chemical recycling? This is very important to know. And here is a master data about waste management, the type of reporting to show, okay, collector, transfer station, sorting plant, proof recycling plant, and the contract partners, treatment plants, plastic, and so on, and the address, the collection points, or where it is coming from, the materials fraction, and the documentation. My documentation is about input, about output, which sender they receive. And this is an Excel sheet where you can see about every involved company of the waste management operators, what he is doing and why he is getting his money for what. Here is one example, because in Europe we have, of course, a very, very high developed waste management system. And here they are working not with material fractures only, they are working with numbers here. The number 1030 is plastic films. The 0 can be differentiated to 01, 02, 025. It is not the finalized CHEDIA, but it is the list. You can find it here at the on the homepage of the Green Dot, but it is used on international level, and every material fraction has definition, yeah, a product specification. And I show you here, for example, the product specification of PET, and it is the number 3281. And it is mixed PET with 90% PET and transparent and 10% other PETs, 90% minimum, at least 90% PET bottles, maximum purity is 10%, and so on. If somebody worldwide will get barrels of PET with this specification, he knows with his number 328.1, he knows exactly, okay, these must be fulfilled, these product specifications. And the sorting facilities that exist today have achieved a certain degree or standardization on these. And the results that the packaging collection is largely uniform, so all over Germany and also about all over our neighbor countries. They are also placed on the sorted products, and they are used for international trading mainly. Here you can see the one rough I show you a rough picture of the mass flow verification from collection, transfer station, sorting plant, recycling plant, and output of recycling processes. And minimum, it must be here a verification of the material and the weight, but also it is also necessary for the monitoring to have the right figures on this place and also here. Yeah, to say, okay, then we can say, okay, it is coming from collection of households. It is transferred here in this place and sorted in this plant and then recycled in this plant. And the process steps are the mixed light fade packaging, for example. This is an example again with packaging, but you can translate it also to other waste streams. Pre and post transship, input sorting plant, output sorting plant, input recycling plant, output. And these processes creates a general weighting receipt and a clear number which cannot be faked. Yes, you can see in the sorting plant. The sorting plant is the center of recycling, where you have the decision what has been done with materials, not only with packaging, also with electronic and other equipments, to say, okay, where does it go? And on what level will it be recycled here? And when I go here again, you see here the information in Germany, for example, all this information is going to the central agency because we have several PROs. If there is only one PRO, it can be done without this central agency. But good is that the central agency here you can translate into ministry, for example, or the official controlling authority, yeah, and provide the data from the third-party auditors to say, okay, is this verified, is it right, and about the waste processor plants. Certification of recycling facilities. This is sustainable for recycling facilities to say, okay, you reach, for example, mixed plastics, and therefore you have to show that these mixed plastics is really used for it and that you don't exchange the materials and give an approval for another material and write down, okay, it is recycled mixed plastics. Yes, this is necessary to show. And the recycling facilities is to be determined on the facility specific basis, and the number and requirements of individual inspections shall be limited. It is here once a year or every 2 years. Yeah. And as a rule, not only the suitability of the recycling facilities must be proven, but also the marketing of the products. What is of the outcome of these companies? And then the recycling is only justified if a market is existing for it. And this must be shown. And Here I showed it already, but this is my favorite picture because if I will go to the discussion about certificates, then there is misunderstanding sometimes between the involved obliged companies who bring packaging on the market. For example, I stay now at the example of packaging and what they bring for certification. And they pay that their packaging will be collected and sorted and recycling, and not agriculture firms, for example. No, it must be recycled, the bags and the household packaging and the films from the households and from equal sources, but not, for example, from agriculture or from industries or something else. And therefore, it is really, really, really the central sentence in our whole understanding of EPR that there is a congruence between the packaging which the obliged companies, for which the obliged companies must participate and pay, and the packaging waste that is separated, collected, and recycled after use, and not something else to change these materials in a way to maximize the economic value. Okay, and now I will give you a short overview of certifications. To say, okay, trading with certification, do they fulfill this? This, what I showed you as my central slide. And we have, first of all, the United Kingdom, and Katalin will dive deeper a little bit in this certification system, because they started already in the 1990s, in the mid of, I think, 1995, 6, 7. But I can say there was so many mismanagement that they reformed it completely, and now being reformed under a new law. And it is still with certification, but it is very, very, very complex and very complicated to say, okay, how can I bind in certification trading into an EPR rule? Poland has also certification. The producers have two options. One option is to participate in an EPR system, and the other option is to participate in or to buy certifications. And I can tell you, it doesn't work. This double options is double counting of amounts, and the results are not good. India, they do it, yes, 5, 7 years ago for plastic packaging with EPR credits. Recyclers and waste management can issue credits. Producers must purchase these, and some initiatives. Yes, there are some initiatives, but not countrywide. Yeah, and only with value, and they pay a little and give a little certification, but it is not an EPR system, not a nationwide EPR system. And there are some pilot markets in Nigeria, Kenya, Indonesia, and Philippines. We are involved in Kenya, Indonesia, and Philippines. And all these countries will change into a real have to change into a real EPR system, because these are only some pilot market projects. Okay, then let me go to the system here. of UK. And I hand over to Katalin.
Yes, we just wanted to give you a quick example of why and how UK is changing away from these certificates. And they are replacing the system, at least for packaging, by a full EPR through a regulation that has been introduced in 2024 and implemented at the beginning of 2025, which makes producers fully financially responsible for the management of their packaging waste. The certificate system isn't being scrapped immediately, but it is being reformed with stricter reporting requirements. There has to be a publication of price and revenue data to increase transparency. There have to be new competence tests for recyclers, for exporters, and compliance schemes, which means that only those that meet the standards can participate under the new system, and stronger rules on exports, which means that there has to be evidence that the exported materials are actually recycled under the proper conditions. There are strengthened regulations and enforcement, so the corresponding environmental agencies will gain or are gaining more power to monitor and to prosecute violations. And in the near future, there will be digital waste tracking introduced to ensure better traceability of packaging waste. Yeah. Costs will be redistributed. So there will not only be certificates, but there will be a central single state-run PRO equivalent, which is called the scheme and administrator. This is the logo that you can see there. And fees will be collected that will shift the financial burden away from the local authorities. And the scheme administrator will redistribute those fees as disposal cost payments to local authorities to fulfill waste management. The obligations to participate depend on thresholds, as is usual. There will be modulated fees based on recyclability. So not yet in the first year, but upcoming producers will pay lower fees for easily recyclable packaging and higher fees for packaging that is hard to recycle. So there will be a modulation. And this will be based on a new assessment. There are some transitional arrangements, such as temporary reliefs for companies to adapt, and the base fees for 2025 are already published to give businesses planning security. And the whole change is being implemented with a larger packaging reform. So there's something called simpler recycling upcoming, which is a legislation which will standardize recycling collection nationwide. And there will be an upcoming deposit return scheme for beverage containers, which will divert some packaging from the certificate system entirely.
Yes, this was a very, very rough and short run to the UK system. It makes it really very complicated and we are not sure because it is starting now. It started just when we didn't see any results now, but it changed really what I say, like master analysis for every certificates. This makes it like an EPR system and brings it a little bit away from the certification trading. Now, the discussion of the first the advantages of certificate trading. First advantage, yes, it seems to be easy to implement if without complex reporting system like in UK. Yes, UK now, and we don't know whether it works. Yes, and there's no comprehensive system participation required, and quantities can be converted into certificates based on the availability. Yeah, and it is also a little bit more. It is a big amount of flexibility for the companies. They can choose between investing in recycling measures themselves or purchasing the certificates, and particularly advantages for industries with very different types and quantities of packaging materials. And the capital flow into recycling infrastructure, companies can sell certificates, receive direct capital. Yes, they received money direct. But, however, if we say, okay, we want a nationwide system where everywhere, every packaging is collected, also in regions which are expensive to collect the packaging there, and also the materials which have no value, then it does not work. And I want to show these are 2 pages with disadvantages from our perspective and our experience. There is a risk of fraud and misuse. Without strong monitoring, reporting, and verification system, a lot of risks there, a double counting of certificates, selling in same recycling amounts, greenwashing through false claims. Yes, and especially critical for trading is international since traceability is more difficult. And the second disadvantage is if done right, there is a really high complexity and administrative burden because you need a mass flow analysis for every certificate. Yes, if you don't have this, I jump to point 1. There is a risk of misuse. Yes, you need, if you will do it in a good manner, detailed data collection, auditing, trading platforms for small businesses. System might be over-verificated, and there is a risk that transaction costs are really higher than the benefits if you want to do it right and to monitor it in a really good way. And there is a market volatility, and the certificate price can change very sometimes very high or low. And if the price is lower and lower and lower and lower, something is misunderstood, because then first maybe they start with real materials, but then they see, okay, we can change and can find out the very economic best way. And then it started maybe from one certification from $100 to $50 or $20, because they see how you can make it cheaper. And if you make it cheaper, there is, yes, the word inside, they cheat really very often, and there are frauds and misuse. And integration challenges with existing systems. When implementing a nationwide EPR system, this can really overlap and conflict the EPR system, because it is difficult and necessary to involve them and to find a way that all these are implemented in EPR system. It is possible because, of course, there are advantages that they have some knowledge about recycling plant and material flow, but not overall. And to say, okay, to control what kind of certificates are really telling the truth and what kind of certification doesn't tell the truth. It's only written paper. Yeah. And it is not congruent with the packaging or the materials the obliged producer and importer are paying for. And there is another slide with disadvantages. We think that there are sometimes wrong incentives. They might prefer buying certificates instead of investing in good packaging themselves, and a risk of pay to pollute mentality. They find the simplest way, and the producer may offset one material stream with another, and they undermining the congruence between this packaging, and focus could shift to trading instead of real circular solutions. And we think this is also a big argument. There is normally no link between the industry and the municipalities. We think in an EPR system, all municipalities in all regions has to be involved. And if you control the trading system of certificate trading, then I'm sure that in most cases there is no link to the municipalities, but they need the money for the collection. And they should collect, and they should inform the inhabitants about separate collection and separate at source. And with this system, you will never ever build up a nationwide collection system. And this is the main target. If we summarize, it has a high administrative effort if you make it good, high risk of fraud, price volatility, wrong incentives, inequality, integration difficulties with existing systems, and no link between industry and municipalities, and no nationwide collection system. Therefore, we say, okay, if it is now existing, this certification trading, then to find out the best way to integrate it in a good EPR system. And we want to show you how you can build up a good gradual increase of a plan for collection infrastructure step by step. It was a question yesterday or last week. How can we start 100%? No. We started here in Europe in some countries with 100%, and it was a collapse of materials, and they were really could not handle it good. To start with pilot projects in rural regions, in urban regions, and here's some examples. The options are a rough differentiation between option 1, gradual increase of collection points or collection regions, a gradual increase of households, and the third is certain recycling rates for difficult material fractures. Here it is very easy and easy to control. Say after 2 years, the EPR system has to install 1,000 collection points in one rural region and in one urban region, for example. And then you have to extend this to 20,000 or to 200,000. These are only some example figures. And after 8 years, 100,000 collection points. This approach they did, for example, in Spain, because in Spain it's more bring it yourself system, not so much curbside collection at the households, but yes, they have every 200 inhabitants have a collection point, and everywhere you can find it in every street, even in the hills and in the rural regions and in regions where it is difficult to to collect. And this is one approach, the option 1. The second approach, I think they did it in Chile, like this a little bit, to say, okay, it is defined that after maybe 2 years, You say, okay, 10% of your population must have access to separate collection system for packaging, for example, or also for electronic equipment, can say. And 10% of population, you can also write down in the law, it must be 50% of these, 5% must be in urban and 5% in rural regions, for example, or in districts like this, something. And after 5 years, 50%, and after 8 years, 100%. But you must find out what are the best percent figures, but to start, and then they can fulfill it, and it must define, okay, what does it mean that every household has a bin, or that maybe 500 persons has a bin, a container for bring it yourself. This must be defined. There must be a good definition in the rules. And the third one we did in the most European example, Germany. We have more than only one. This is the numerator of the rate and the amounts they send to recycling, the input of the recycling plant. And the relation to this can be the amount what the obliged company bring on the market. This is really difficult because this amount, you can only have the figures after the year, after 1 year. In 2026, we know what they brought on the market in 2025. Therefore, it is not so good. You cannot control it. And the PRO doesn't know these figures and doesn't know his recycling quota, how to fulfill. Therefore, these figures we have to send to the European Commission, this first one, this gray one. But in the law, these figures are hard figures. The reference is the amount licensed at the PRO. And this amount, there is every obliged companies has first to give a forecast for 3 months. Some you can also give for 6 months of forecast. Now they give a forecast what they will bring on the market in 2026, in January, February, and March. And this forecast they have to give till the 15th of December, 15 days before the next 3 months are starting. And then after the year, it will be fact reporting. Here it's forecast reporting, and we differentiate between forecast reporting and fact reporting. And the quotas, they have to find out whether the forecast and the fact reporting is the same. This is the best. And they can add information during the year. And this is very important. And the third way to find out a quota is on the collected waste. Yeah. And it is very difficult to control if such informations are not available. Yeah. A check is only possible for reliable figures which are available, but it is possible to, we have both. We have quotas here in relation to the license at the PRO and what they really collect. Both. Yes, these are some ideas how to go on and to start step by step. And I want to hand over the last 5 minutes to Katalin about the informal sector integration. Maybe it is a little bit more different in Brazil because you told that the informal sector is already formalized, but some ideas. Yeah, okay.
Yes. I will keep it short and just mention a few points. So packaging waste management and waste management in general is a big challenge in many countries, and LMIC especially, and needs appropriate funding. So private market response, cash for trash, is often a response for efficient waste management practices, which pays informal waste pickers or households money for bringing in separated waste with a value to a collection point where the waste is bought back and forwarded to recycling. This graphic is just meant to show that the price paid for the material and the profit that can be made from it increases with each step during the recycling value chain, which means that households or waste pickers usually can only access the smallest share of the value that may be captured in this value chain. And there are a lot of materials that do not provide sufficient value in a market. So these are not recovered. They end up in landfills. They end up littered. Yes, thanks. So we just wanted to highlight the problem of economic viability, which means that whether management and recycling is viable is determined in the end at the recycler. The commercialization of the recyclates needs to be able to finance the entire chain, also the picking, the collection, the aggregation. And these systems have a limited ability to absorb external shocks that might be impacting them, such as happened by global recycling markets, because there is, for instance, a direct competition with prices for virgin materials. And if those drop, the recyclers also need to sell at lower prices, and then the financing of the rest of the value chain might also fail. The structures cannot be applied to packaging waste with little or no value. So a low market value means insufficient revenue, means there will be no buyback. This is especially true for types of materials which are already prone for littering. And if collection is artificially enhanced, it might still be too expensive at the level of the recycler. So the economic dependency prevents that these models can be expanded to all regions, because there is a strong geographical variation depending on local infrastructure and markets. And usually these types of systems are, for instance, not viable in rural areas. And there might be other problems, such as that high value material, on the other hand, might even attract foreign companies, pushing out local companies. This is just a short overview naming what types of materials have a market value and what types usually don't. And those that have are usually collected by formal sectors, so PET bottles, paper, cardboard, and ferrous and non-ferrous metals. But there are a lot of materials you can see at the bottom of the list, especially composite and complex materials, which are hard to recycle and have no market value. Yes, I think we can skip over this. Yes, these are the three categories. And this is to give an idea of how, even if packaging materials with value is extracted from the waste stream, there's still a lot of packaging waste that ends up in landfills. And so what we want to highlight here is that waste collection needs to be guaranteed and recycling needs to be guaranteed regardless of the economic viability. So there needs to be systematic financing models that enable these management structures. And this is where we promote extended producer responsibility, because we think it's the most suitable model. As you know from the beginning, it is defined as an environmental policy approach in which the producer's responsibility for a product is extended to the waste stage of the product's life cycle. And it can also entail remuneration of waste pickers regardless of the collected material's value. So instead of providing them money for a payment for the material, it would be crucial to provide payment for a service they provide. And this shift enables the systematic collection, and it exploits the synergies in packaging waste collection. Yes, I think you can Yeah, so just a few central points at the end. What is important in our view to integrate successfully the informal sector? First of all, recognition. So there needs to be recognition of the long-standing role of the informal sector, their contributions to recycling and therefore to environmental goals. There needs to be trust building, and the benefits of participation need to be presented. Information, training, and professional support are very important. Support can mean legal advice, assistance for formalization. It can mean diverse entry options to reflect different realities and capacities. Support for self-organization, such as cooperative structures, access to infrastructure, equipment, and financing to enable them to become operators, and depending on the type of model that is chosen, employment contracts for workers or service contracts for business partners or cooperatives.
And now my last slide in these 3 workshops. It ends in some ideas for regulation. It is very, very important to have a very good law with very, very clear definitions and with very, very clear duties, what has who to do and what are the duties of which stakeholder. And the idea what Katalin told is to change, if it had from pay for trash to pay for service, and of course to involve the revenues, okay, but the service is in the front and not the trash. The trash is also important, but also to have in mind that all the services have to pay it, even if there is no value. Even they don't have any value, they have to pay for, and not only for something which has a value, because just in all waste streams, we have a lot of items which has after use no value. Yeah. And what is important for one regulation, the terms of definitions, a mandatory PRO system operator, who is the obliged producer and importer, which are the involved, what packaging are involved, the scope of financing and calculation, the collection system and collection targets, sorting, recycling, and recovery targets, involvement of the municipalities, involvement of the informal sector, communication, information, education, and responsibilities, competence, and the authorities and the controlling. This was a very fast run through a lot of aspects of EPR, of certification, of monitoring, of controlling, of everything. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Agnes and Katalin, for your presentation. Colleagues, if you have questions to our experts, please feel free to use the chat box or directly raise your hand. I see one question from Flavio already. Flavio, do you want to jump in directly again?
Okay, thank you, Ran. Thank you, Agnes and Katalin, for the wonderful presentation. And well, first of all, just want to tell you that a lot of things you pointed out, Agnes, mainly on the disadvantages of the certificates we have already detected here in Brazil. So I believe maybe we can discuss it later. And also, Katalin, regarding the informal sector, maybe we can discuss it later, because here in Brazil, we have a very advanced system to improve the infrastructure of the waste pickers, joining them into cooperatives. There's a long history on this. So just for you to have an idea, officially, we have something like 50,000 waste pickers grouped together in around 3,000 cooperatives with huge investments from PRO systems in Brazil. And well, some of them are already going for paying for the services. So we can discuss it later if you want. But I first would like to ask Agnes about the certification of the recycling facilities. One important thing is that in Brazil, the certificates are emitted by the PROs. So this, in my opinion, is creating a huge mess. And maybe we can change for recyclers, but this poses a challenging on who certificate the recycling facilities. It's a PRO process or a government-run process. And if there is some link with this process with the environmental permitting of those recycling plants. Thank you.
There are 3 levels for this. First of all, it is in the law that they must prove that they are working in a good manner, let's say overall, like an umbrella. Then there is guideline in from the central agency. In Germany, it's central agency. In some others, it is like Federal Agency for Environmental or something like this, where there is a guideline where it is written exact what you have to do during the audit. That is the amount, the material, the technical, and how the monitoring has to be done, and what kind of what informations is needed in the document of certification. And it is very, very important that you can see who is allowed for certification. And if I can share, if you want, later on, the central agency. And the central agency in Germany, they published a list with experts who had these loans and made to do this. It is, first of all, the sworn experts from the Chamber of Industry. Cyclist has, I think, 15 experts who are allowed to do it, but we are, I think, 5 of they are going worldwide and are doing this. But there are more than 50 others in Germany who can do it. And one certification system is, for instance, Recyclas. You know it, Recyclas? It is a very big certification system in Europe, and it is also used worldwide.
But
And
it's recognized by government, Agnes.
Yes, it is
yeah.
proof they are. It is Akkreditierung,
Accredited.
Yep.
accredited by the
Okay.
government, the system. But the experts are not members of the government. The experts are private on the level of the government Sorry, accreditation. Sorry, my English is not so good. Okay, and the guideline you can find in the list of the central agency, and you can also find the experts who are allowed to do it. I don't know whether you are looking now for this, but the guideline says has all the basics and all information what it must contain and what must be controlled. And we are doing, for example, yes, but also a lot of other experts are allowed.
I think that's a very interesting system. And just for you to know, we are creating in a private initiative here from the plastic industry a similar certification than Recyclas. But unfortunately, we had a person from the plastic industry here, but she left, unfortunately. But they are developing much based on the
Yes,
system.
because she will know Recyclas. Recyclas is the most, the biggest accredited organization, and we are member there and can, yes, we can make certification on this or on some other accreditations. There are some more systems which are allowed. Yes, but this is the most international, famous and well-known Recyclas.
Thank you, Agnes, for your answer. We have a hand raised by Louisa. Louisa, do you want to jump in for your question?
Yes, can you hear me? Thank you very much for the
Yes.
presentation. And I was wondering, because in Brazil, we already have in a national policy a waste transport manifest, and it's already applied in a national level in some states. I know from Minas Gerais, they already have implemented, and it's exactly to regulate the fluxes of waste in the state. But it is by the government, so it's a government tool foreseen in the legislation to actually monitor these fluxes, especially for waste streams that are foreseen in the reverse logistics that we have. So I was wondering that you mentioned that this mass flow verification, if it's better to actually have an external audit of this, or if it's okay, if it's enough, and just that the government shares with the PRO, or how do you believe this would be the best dynamics of this control of the mass flow? I'm not sure if I was clear enough.
Sorry, I think at the beginning, if there are only a few mass flows, okay, it can be controlled and the plausibility by the ministry or the government. But if it tends, here it's more than 2 million tons and more than 80 countries are involved and so on and so on. So it is not enough, and therefore they started that it is not enough, that there is like a self-assessment, like a self-assessment of the companies about their technical companies, about the mass flow, and therefore now it is absolute necessary, not for all materials to have the certificates. It is necessary for all plastic facilities, yeah, plastic treatment and plastic recycling. And it is necessary for liquid compounds, for liquid cartons, Tetra Pak, like this. And it is necessary for other composition materials, plastics with paper, for this coffee cups or something like this, which is composite materials. Yes, for these streams, it's necessary to have the recycling audit. It is not necessary for glass, but they have to give a waste stream, and the waste stream has to be controlled, but not every such a deep audit in the facilities themselves, because we have only about 20 facilities which are using this glass, for example, and also the paper mills. The paper mills, if it's going into a paper mill, it is a paper mill. Everybody knows the paper mills and the technical of the paper mills, and therefore it's fine. But these streams, which are difficult, and especially mixed plastics, difficult to recycle, and has not a high value, and has a high effort for the preparation for recycling, they need these certificates. Yeah.
Thank you.
Just me add something, Luisa, for you to know that first, yes, EPR, our Brazilian system, is supposed to be the mass flow verification system, and I believe it's really robust, but we need to improve its connection among different states, the federal system, etc. But there is a very important point here, in my opinion, Luisa, which is this is a governmental system. So there is a need for the government to inspect and penalize in case of any flaw. And we have already a case on this, a specific case where some loads from glass packaging was detected as unnormal by the government, and some criminal processes are running due to this. So the government detect that there is some operator who was receiving an amount of glass much bigger than his capacity, his permitted capacity, his physical capacity. So it was a suspicion of a fraud of the system. So they are investigating at the moment. Just for you to understand that we need to improve, surely. But in my opinion, this system, it's a point to give some recognition of the mass flow verification processes. Yep.
I agree. It's a very good system. Thank you.
Well, again, if you want, I can share now very fast the page of the, I hope you can see it, it's here. Yes, the page of the central register. You can see it here.
It's
Can you
coming,
see it?
Agnes.
I think it's coming, but we have not yet seen it.
Now?
Not yet from my
Then
side.
I share it in another way. Wait. Bildschirm. Now?
Yes.
Better? Yeah,
Yes.
better. Okay. This is a central agency in Germany, and you can find it in English. And there is a public register, the register of the producers. I have shown you that you can find the Brazil also register of completeness, and the register, and this is of auditors. Division 1, which can prove the mass flow record system and so on. And they are doing this. And if you are going here, I hope I can do it. Register, you can find the register of the auditors. And here you can say, okay, in the country, it is from Germany, for example, Deutschland, Abfrage Staaten. Hope you can see who are the auditors. Yes, and this is in Germany, Umweltgutachter. They are environmental experts. Yes, and these are what we are, the public sworn experts. And if we change here and say, okay, it's from cyclists, I hope, for starten. I did not try. Okay, you can see here. Yes, it is our colleague Nienke, Tietje, Over, Kerkhoff, Erwin, Grachel, Raut, and yes, we can see 19 here. Say 20 because Stefan here, it's Stefan. He is here. And I was also, but I ended my time in half a year ago because I don't go now. But I was in some 100 facilities and did this mass flow analysis. But now I'm here and speaking about it and not doing about it. But I have a lot of experience since more than 30 years. Yes, and you can find all companies, all experts here who are allowed to do this certification, but it's not only, as I told you, it's not only cyclists in Germany. If I start again with Germany, you can see there are in total, I think, about 86 experts, and we have 20 of these in our company. Yes. But we are doing a lot of certifications like this. Yes, and here, but I have to have a deeper look. You can find the guidelines also, the guidelines of the audits and how they have to do it and so on. You can find it here on this homepage. Yeah. Okay, then I will end this. And yeah.
Thank you, Agnes. I don't know if Flavio, your hand is related with this question. Okay, but probably then you, I give you the floor first. I see there are also other colleagues already turning on their mic. There is also a comment in the chat. I will, jump to them after maybe your intervention.
Yep. Yeah, first about the comment on the chat from Luciana. Yes, Luciana, indeed. Inmetro is our official accreditation body in Brazil. So to establish an official certification scheme, we must submit it to Inmetro. Yes, it is. But Agnes, I'd like to come back to the advantages and disadvantages of the certification, which is the focus of our talk today. You mentioned two important things, I believe. When we in Brazil talk about certificates for packaging EPR, people defend it using two main arguments. The first is the low cost. And you mentioned many times, and in my opinion, was very clear to say that these low prices are obtained in the name of decreasing, for example, the investment on infrastructure. And this is exactly what we are seeing. So a lot of companies, instead of investing for accomplishing a responsibility established by law, instead of investing money for increasing recycling or collection infrastructure, they just buy a certificate and that's it. So this is, in my opinion, already answered. But there is another point. People use it as an argument here, is that the certificate, in theory, by them, should facilitate the compliance from small businesses. And you said that in your point of view, the small enterprises can face some bureaucracy to accomplish using certificates. I'd like you to explain this a little bit because for me it's still a problem to understand how bureaucratic can be this certificate scheme. Thank you.
First, to the low price and low costs. Let me give you not an example, the experience. We know for packaging that if, for example, the total cost for all services to collect everywhere, all packaging, not only in German, in European countries, are 100%, maybe 1 million euro. The costs are covered by revenues maximum of 20%. That means that if the total costs are 1 billion, only 800,000 or 800 million is covered, has to be covered for service and add-on, and are not covered by the revenues by selling all these packaging. Yeah, you need to pay for 80% of the total system, and only 20% can come back by selling these, which has a value. Even if it has a value, you need for collection, for sorting, and then in the recycling plant, okay, you can earn the money, but you must cover all the costs before. Yes, and with metals, it's okay a little bit, and with PET bottles, but all others, they are not covered, and these are in total less. Now it's less than 20% because the personal costs are high and the raw material costs are low. And therefore, it's only about 10%. It is in good years, it's 20, in bad years and not so good years, it's less than 20%. And therefore, if the price is low for certificates and you have a price for certificates, where does it come from? We don't know. You need a very high price to pay and cover 100% of the cost, and not only a little. Then you cannot pay for any service which is not in a very good region and with very good material. It is all the same. We are going with our arguments all the time back to the roots to say, okay, we know the experience, There must be costs, there must be additional costs, there are costs which are not covered by the revenues, and therefore it is in total more. And in total, it is 80% or only maybe 10 to 20% covered by revenues. When we start in new countries, like in Germany, like in Jordan, they ask at the chamber, "Oh, what are our revenues?" And I tell, "No, nothing. You have to pay. There are no revenues. In total, you have to pay." And then they don't like. But yes, it is cost of the system and not gold digging system.
Thank you, Agnes.
Your second was the compliance of small companies. Yes, very small companies. So bring it on the market. I don't know exactly what there was in our arguments, but the small companies may be
bureaucratic.
yeah. If they have to do in a very, very good manner a certification trading system. It is not, please don't change it with certification of the technical auditing or something like this, what we are doing. It is certificate for trading, the certification trading. And they have to do for very small amount the whole bureaucratic like in UK now. Then it would be easier only to participate in the EPR system, to pay for maybe 10 tons what they bring in the market, and they finish. It is very easy. It is easier than to buy online a trouser or a t-shirt. Yes, it is very, very easy because the systems, they are really here make it easy for small companies to participate with small amounts in the EPR system. They can make a flat rate for the year or for 2 years, say, okay, we bring on the market 5 tons of glass, and then they pay, okay, €100 and finish for 2 years. This is very easy done if you say they need a certification and they have to show where it comes from. Is it really glass? Is it really done? And so on and so on. It can be bureaucratically. If you make it easy and say, okay, they have to buy a certificate and need not to prove anything, of course, then it's easy. Yeah, as easy as the others. But this can be the EPR's system contribution can be very, very, very easy. Yeah, it is. I tell them here, and we try it, and that means it is easier to make registration and reporting and participate in the system than to buy with Amazon or other online platform a t-shirt or shoes or toys. Yes, it's very easy. We can do it. Yeah. And show. Okay.
Yes, thanks,
It
Agnes.
is 20.
Yes, I don't know if Renata, you still want to raise your question. I see Hugo Waiter already left, probably.
I want to tell you, you can, if you really want, and Flavio, Aran, if you have tomorrow questions. If there are questions which is still open and you will discuss this and you record this, you can send us these questions and we can answer it by mail.
Oh, fantastic, Agnes. Thank you very much for this.
Yes, thanks, Agnes. I just left my email address in the chat. So, colleagues, if you have questions, we probably do not have time to address them now, but feel free to send to my email address. I will forward those questions to Agnes, and we will provide you an answer via email.
Yeah, perfect. And I will send you from today the presentation in, I think, half an hour. I've seen there was one mistake still in one slide. I'm sorry, but you didn't notice, but we did. we will send you a good version. Yes.
Yes, thank you, Agnes, and also thank you for all the participants for joining. I see a lot of names I already familiar with. You joined, yeah, three or at least two webinars. We hope that the webinars are helpful for you. We hope you understand better now some practices from other regions, other countries in the world on EPR, and that is also helpful for you to, yeah, address similar challenges in Brazil. Stay tuned with Gap for EPR events, activities. You can find them from the link I shared in the chat. And thank you again for joining with us. And yeah, feel free to share any questions with me. You have my email address in the chat. And yeah, thank you. And bye bye for now.
Thank you, Ren, to
Okay.
moderate, and thank you, Agnes and
And thank
Kathleen,
you.
Thank
also
you
to
very
Stefan.
much.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
very
Thank you.
much. See you
Bye-bye.
soon.
Thank you.
Yes. Bye-bye.
Bye.